This is a good discussion.
Yeah. It's actually a lack of like, basically it's the opposite of what he's getting teased for. I think he has a stronger center because he's not like
I think you
phased
have a
by
stronger
stupid
center when you're more egoless. Like, it's not a bad thing to not have an ego.
Yeah, I know.
So what the fuck is everyone talking about? Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone, like in my my mom is like has fully teased him and been like, yeah, whatever you say, he goes and does.
Right.
First of all, that's not true. He hasn't. And I feel like what's actually happening is that he's open-mindedly, he's not even trusting me that much. He's just trusting me like as much as as you trust a person that you know.
And he probably doesn't trust you on everything.
No, he doesn't. So he like evaluates the thing that I'm saying or selling him or whatever.
If it comes to like technology, I'm sure she probably knows more. Or fitness or whatever.
Yeah, there's just all these ways in which she's like, oh, that one's better? Cool.
Yeah.
Whereas I think my mom is like much more of like her own thinker, and my sister's like this too. For me, like if someone gives me a good idea, like I'll do the idea. There's so many people who just because they were given an idea make a point of not doing it.
Yep.
Because God forbid if my mother ever listened to me, it would show that she is a bullshit.
Do you think that's what it is? Or like, I think there can be deep discomfort for some people acknowledging that their children know better than them in some places.
I don't think it has a ton with my mom to do with children. It's
or
just
younger people, I don't know.
And there is that culturally as well, which is it's stronger with Indian families. But I think like, yeah, I think she thinks he's like suggestible, as if that's like, a bad thing.
Like gullible.
Yeah, like, oh, okay, whatever you say.
Yeah, I think it takes actually like a pretty big person to be willing to take someone else's advice, expertise, point of view, and really like just embrace it and try it on.
Yeah, and try it.
And it also it doesn't sound like he's abandoning his own reasoning within it. Like if you were to try it and it's shitty, he probably would return it.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. So I was like, what are we teasing him about? Because for a while, like it like semi-bothered me. I'd be like, really? You needed to get that? You needed to get that? Remind you of something?
Right.
Which was juvenile. But this is like a decades long thing. And one fine day I was like, wait, we're teasing him about a thing that's actually more developed than all the teasers.
Huh.
Yeah. Teasing. That's another fascinating thing.
I felt ashamed about myself for that same thing.
Which thing?
I'm very suggestible.
You are and you aren't.
Noticed. Yeah.
You are and you aren't.
Okay. I guess so. When it comes to certain things. Like you mentioned a book and I'm like, okay.
But again, like what is the risk there? The risk there is you read a stupid book that you're like, well, that was a waste of time. Why'd I listen to her?
Yeah.
Like it's not about your identity unless you make it about your identity.
Right. And I don't think like self-improvement, who's not doing that in some aspect?
A lot of people. That's why there's only 3.
But in some aspects.
In Los Angeles.
The 3 TV show. The 3.
Yeah.
It's just you trying to find them.
That'd be a good show.
Yeah, right? I'd watch that.
Me too. And it's very open-ended. Like, you could go anywhere. Say no more on.
And there could be like a 4th who's not one of the 3, but he's like, I need to convince her that I want it.
You could, yeah, you could. It's the sky's the limit. The sky is the limit.
Great.
Given our knowledge of space, that's actually not that meaningful of a saying anymore.
This guy's
The sky is pretty limiting.
pretty limited and pretty traffic jams.
Not right now. I think it's so funny that everyone's like, oh, it's a good break for the Mother Earth.
Yeah, you think that's funny?
I think it's so stupid. As if,
I mean, it's very like rosy glasses. As if, what were you saying?
as if we could possibly. Yeah, it's like, right, the decades and decades and decades of damage is really going to be erased by a couple of months of us like taking a pause.
Of course not. It's not even that huge a pause.
Does it
All
look
things
dark to
considered.
you?
It does. That's what I was trying to solve.
Why is that one pointing up, first of all?
I think I did that. Yeah, it's probably just gonna go right back to normal.
I mean, if we keep doing the thing, then yes.
It still looks dark. I don't know. It's just a dark one.
That's weird.
It's just a dark day.
Why would it be? Maybe your brightness is turned down.
I know. But I tried.
Oh, you did. That's pretty low.
It is low. Why ain't it going up? There we go.
That's what it. This is
That's
like when Aaron
all?
was like, "Your sound's messed up."
Your sound. No, it's Oh,
Fans.
now look how bright and glowy we look. Great.
I
I watched the weirdest thing last night, and
I watched an
finished.
extreme stupid thing last night as well.
What did you watch?
I couldn't decide if it was worth talking about.
Okay.
Definitely not on the internet. I mean, just like wasting your time.
Oh.
What was your thing?
Do you know who Terrence McKenna is?
That sounds really familiar. But it sounds a lot like Terrence McNally, so that's confusing. Who is it?
Who's Terrence McNally?
Playwright?
Oh, right. So wait, what's it called?
Terrence.
Yeah. He did a lot of psychedelics. A lot of psychedelics.
Oh, I've seen The Tree of Life.
What? Not Terrence Malick.
What?
No.
Who am I looking up?
Terrence McKenna.
Okay, that's 3 Terrences with M last names. How was I supposed to keep that straight?
That's true. No. Although maybe Terrence Malick also has done a lot of psychedelics.
It looks like he could have.
I'm just going off the Tree of Life. Like, that's possible. Anyway, he's kind of like, he's a sommelier of psychedelics.
There's a name of that. There's a name for that.
Is that? I mean, I'm.
It says something not like an astronaut, like a cosmonaut.
Oh, a
It's like
psychonaut.
That doesn't sound quite right, but like yes.
Okay.
It's
I don't think he's around anymore. But anyway, this
psychonaut.
it is psychonaut. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, he's an expert on psychedelic trips.
Yeah.
I don't think he's around anymore, but so it's this movie. I only got like halfway in, but it's like him and a bunch of others, go into the Amazonian rainforest
Mhm.
and they find this this field. I don't know how they heard about like this place where there's a lot of mushrooms that grow.
Mhm.
So they like go on like a 10-day journey into the Amazon, and then they find it, and it's like this pasture full of cows and mushrooms.
Mhm.
And they're basically just tripping on mushrooms like perpetually.
The cows?
No, the people, his group.
Mm.
Like they're just constantly high. Not even
And
high.
He watched.
His little brother is with him too, and takes so much that literally there's a point when like his little brother, there's a full interview with him. He might not have come back, and they had to just like stay with him, and he like the psychedelic would like wear off, and then it would like seize up again and wear off and seize up again like over the course of like 24 hours. It apparently got dicey there. He really might not have come back. And at some point they became convinced that like if there's a sound in your head when you're quiet of buzzing, right? And they became convinced that if they sang at the pitch in their head, they would be able to like create a psychedelic experience for themselves without substance. So they're just
That
like,
seems a bit of a leap.
I don't know, they're like in the rainforest taking mushrooms, naked, making weird sounds.
That's amazing.
And the other thing that I just want to say, there's this speech he gives where he talks about aliens. And he's like, what would be the way in which aliens would infiltrate Earth?
The movie I just read today?
Kind of.
Okay.
But yeah, I know. When you were talking, I was like, what? And he's like, no, if they're so advanced, they wouldn't just like come knocking on your door and be like, hey, we're here. No. They would like study human beings and figure out like entryways that are much more subtle, right? And he's like, so aliens would observe humans and they'd be like, oh, humans do this interesting thing in where they intoxicate themselves. And when they're intoxicated, kind of anything goes. They're like, oh yeah, I see like a pink elephant over there. And everyone's like, ha ha ha, he's drunk or he's high or something. So it's like, that's how aliens would invade.
Invade.
They invade through a drug, masquerading as a drug, and like gain access to like your mind and show you things in that way. So basically, I think he's hypothesizing that mushrooms or drugs are literally aliens showing human beings things.
And your thoughts on that? You don't have to have any feelings on that. Anything
Feelings?
on that?
It's a little far out. A little far out.
You think? No, that was actually genuine.
I can't even, that's like not even the craziest thing that he talks about.
That makes like, is it weird that makes?
That makes sense to you?
It's not that weird to me.
Okay.
I'm not saying I think that's what's happening.
I mean,
I don't like,
why not?
I'm not like agreeing with him, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is not the most insane thing I've ever heard. I've heard a lot more insane shit. Or like a lot less, like somehow that's not the least feasible thing.
Okay.
But I might be nuts.
Yeah.
according to Robert, they're watching us.
You watching this?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was like, all eyes are on. Basically to see if we like murder ourselves right now. Yeah. But like everybody knows it's a big moment. And they're like, wonder what they'll do.
I wonder too. Yeah. He also thinks that like imagination, we're not actually making things up. We're like gaining access to places and things that actually do exist.
Like my
Makes-
friend's dream.
Make your friends dream.
My friend who dreams about the same place.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god.
That's one of the weirdest things that I was like, when he told me that, I was like, I can't. In part because the only way I knew know how to interact with him is to try to understand it. And I knew that was going nowhere very, very fast. So I was like, I'm gonna look over here. Because what?
Yeah, her friend dreams about a place, and he's been going to this place since he was a kid. And so he dreams this place, and they get older.
There's continuity.
Yeah.
And consistency.
I mean, I definitely have that about a few places in my dreams. There's this one place that sometimes I kind of go to, like in a semi. It's not like it's a canyon.
Yeah.
I just know the feel of it. It's a canyon, and I don't know, I've been there a few times.
Are there natives?
No?
Just a place, physically.
It's just a place. I don't know where it is. Yeah.
See, this shit to me sounds
I
as
don't think
nuts.
I've ever been there. I'm not dreaming of a place I've been to.
Right.
Yeah.
This stuff,
Mhm.
like Matt's thing,
Mhm.
that is as nuts to me as the mushroom thing.
Mm.
Like if that is the case, then anything can be the case. Then I quit. And this is not a person who exaggerates. It's not a person who lies. It's
Right. Terrence McKenna was talking about. So, like, to go with you're not like imagining or hallucinating things that don't exist. You're actually like being shown places that are real. He like took a bunch. I don't know what the hell he was on. It sounds like he's just always on a lot. He talks about this one trip where he went to this like lizard world. I'm really serious. This lizard world, and the lizard people welcomed him and showed him all their lizard culture. It was like really detailed. Like,
is he a fish fan?
a fish fan? I
Yeah,
don't know.
'cause they have the
lizard
equivalent.
people. Yeah. Maybe.
Because Trey Anastasio,
Understand.
like as his college thesis, wrote like a very elaborate, like he did a nerdy Tolkien kind of thing with
Mhm.
music.
Mm,
So he has this like world.
right.
And one of my favorite songs is The Lizards.
Right.
And I don't think in Trey's thing, I don't think they're actually lizards, but they're called the lizards. They have their whole own way of, they have their own culture.
I wonder if one influenced the other. I don't. Maybe Terrence McKenna influenced that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
It would
just
need
like
to be a
all
while
this-
ago, but it sounds like that's possible.
Yeah, it
Because
was.
Trey is not young, and this was in college.
No, this was like in the 60s.
Probably feasible then, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like when everyone was going to India and stuff. He went off and wanted to explore psychedelics.
I've been recently, I love how I make things sound like more continuous than they are. I think there is something about India, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
energetically. Or...
yeah.
Hmm.
It's the compression thing again.
I found it really interesting that to you, India is less compressed than here. I mean, I've never been there, but whatever. So my idea of India doesn't matter.
Is compressed?
Yeah, I just think about the number of people and the sounds and the flavors and the.
Yes, there's
It
a
feels
lot.
very stimulating.
It is.
Yeah.
But this is why compression is different than crowded.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because while there are all of those things, and when I was talking to my dad about this yesterday, he was like, yeah, I think that's probably true of all big cities. And I was like, I don't know, because I don't think it's particularly true of crowded places in India. There is something that feels more like vertical space, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a spaciousness that does not correspond to the number of people. Like like the atmosphere is different.
Mm-hmm.
Something like feels different, and everybody knows it when they get off the plane, especially if they're like from there. And I used to just think, oh, that's like what it feels like to come home. More and more I really wonder, and I've never really thought about what this thing I've always kind of assumed that this whole like, oh, when everyone was going to India, people go to India to like find themselves. I thought it was a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were drawn there by the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't really considered, obviously, this whole super weird new theory. That like the atmosphere is different. Everything just like, it's hard to, everything just like lets go suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know those like things where it's like tense, and then like everything just suddenly like gets more space.
Huh.
Super weird. I mean, it would be super weird if this were remotely true. But
a lot of people talk about that.
I mean, which then brought up to me like Sedona.
Yeah.
Which very much, I had like a very significant experience there. And if that place can be energetically different, if the vortexes could be energetically different places that feel like a different atmosphere, which they do, why not?
If you were to go like really scientific with this, I'm sure scientists have studied something about different geographical regions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the energy is different there. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Wait. So, I guess under the earth, it is different.
Electromagnetically, you mean?
Probably. Yeah, and like those tectonic plates. Obviously, my knowledge of geology is going to break down very, very soon.
Okay.
But yeah, it seems to me like the earth energetically wouldn't be like one cohesive thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there would be like hot pockets or pockets.
Hot pockets.
Yeah.
Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it would move over like it would move over many, many years. Would it change? Yeah, it would change. But it makes sense to me that different areas would feel different. Yeah, like I'm sure there's something, but can there be like a merge of all the people who are like everything is energy, ah, and
Which, by the way, are the physicists.
which are the physicists? Well, exactly. So like, can there be like, right? Everything is energy. Why does this feel different than this? Like, can they explain that? You know,
No.
why not? And are they working on it?
I imagine that someone is.
Yeah.
Because, like Dan Siegel is very fond of saying, like, you get some physicists wasted and like get them going a little.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, dude, like spilling government secrets. Yeah, everything is energy. Like it wasn't like new age people who came up with everything is energy. Like it was the physicists, which should tell you something. But I guess it's telling different people different things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't know what to make of that.
That's why I love Dan Siegel, because of the intersectionality of his like disciplines.
It seems to me like the more you know about science is the wrong word for this, but like the nature of the world, the more you should be awed by
Oh yes.
how anything is happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And literally every time that I learn more about anything ever,
Right.
like we sort of touched on this about War and Peace being so surprising. I was like, this means I know nothing about nothing.
Yeah.
That always feels like where you end up, because the more you learn, the more you like realize that there's all this shit you don't know. Like they grow, they're like proportionally increasing. Yeah, they're proportionally increasing. So if you don't learn anything, I think or if you like generally don't, how do you describe what those people do?
If you don't learn anything,
just like if you just hang out, I don't know.
Yeah, what are they doing? They're just like, I know what I need to know.
Right. Which is ironic again because of the logic. Knowing what you need to know and knowing what you're doing is like a big thing for me. But yeah, knowledge of all forms is always a message to me that's like, you don't know shit. Which is why the only people that I think are dongles are people who are certain. Those are the only true dongles. Because even like to everyone that I know, flat earthers are like the biggest dongles. Right? There's something that I borderline appreciate about those people.
Me too.
I'm like, okay. Way to have
conviction.
Way to have intellectual bravery of some sort.
That's true.
And a fundamentally like way to question something. I don't think that questioning things is shameful. And I don't know why we act like it is when it comes to certain things.
I think it's uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah, but why do we have to like make fun of the flat earthers, for example? Like if they're not uncomfortable with their unsupported views.
Because we have to be right.
Right. That's so stupid. And that comes from our certainty.
Right.
Which again is like, I feel like every direction you go, the only truly stupid thing is certainty. That's why with the mushroom thing, with any theory, I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
Well, even so, like, I think a lot of people that grew up with scientific reasoning feel quite self-satisfied about the fact that they think scientifically.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they didn't choose to think that way. They would probably be flat earthers too.
Maybe.
If they had grown up like with a family who believed that.
Yeah,
it's not like they didn't invent science. Yeah. And they're just like taking it, like, I don't know that everything is atoms.
Yeah, that
I don't know that. I'm taking it on faith. Yeah.
I've had this conversation so many times. This is like my science monologue.
Really?
A monologue about science. That really disturbed Aaron, I think. Oh, of course. Because it's very like contrarian, I guess. Even though I don't think it's, I don't know.
I think it's good to question things. Yeah. To learn something for yourself.
Yeah. I know. And the certainty thing is like, it's funny because I sound certain about all kinds of things, but I don't think I actually am certain very much.
Yeah.
I'm
not like, yeah.
It's okay if
you sound certain, but don't listen to her.
It's okay if you are.
But that's like, that's such an important distinction too, that because a lot of people sound really certain about what they're talking about, but we're all basically
making this shit up.
We're all making it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, certainty is the only sign that you haven't actually learned anything.
Yeah, it's so surprising to me, like people who don't want to change their mind about something.
I know. They don't want to burn the calories.
They've like planted a flag somewhere. Especially if that revolves around your career, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No way are you giving it up. That's the thing that you do. You believe in those things.
Yeah, but even if I think it's of no like material consequence to their lives, whatever the perspective is, they still don't want to dig it up and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because it's work. Because it takes like calories.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
It's just like you just think it's like learning math.
No, because every time you change your mind, you are experiencing the uncertainty of everything. You're experiencing death. And I think it burns calories to be like, okay, on a very like subconscious level, realizing you don't know something or changing your mind about something, literally, I think, is akin to, it's like a micro death. I'm making this up, but I like it. So yeah, I think it burns calories to stabilize. To be like, okay, well, my identity can survive this shift. I am okay with not being right about this. I'm okay with not knowing something. What all of that stuff I think burns calories. Which, by the way, is not a weight, not to be confused with like this is not a weight. This is not
This
a weight.
is not a weight
thing.
loss regime.
Yeah. I just mean it's effortful. Even if it's not tangibly effortful the way that moving burns calories, but you can see it happening. I think there are things that you can't see happening that also burn a lot of calories. And I think we underestimate it. I definitely do. I get mad fucking tired from thinking sometimes.
I think also like we live mostly in a culture where you're prized for what you know.
Yeah.
What are you expert on? You know, it's very rare you come across someone whose job it is to not know.
And it's I think it's bigger than that. I think we as a species are obsessed with knowing.
Well, and I'm sure there's a reason why that's so, obviously.
So it's
Because we're like, you're only useful to me if you know something. So that makes me feel good to then at least know you know something. You know what's going on. Then maybe I'll know what's going on. And then we're good.
because knowing things is so helpful.
Doesn't
It's
it
so
make everything
helpful.
better?
It's practical and it's like a warm blanket. If you know, you'll never feel unsafe again. Just kidding.
Maybe it also comes from just like being a very small person.
What?
When you're a kid, you're kind of like, right, I don't know things.
No, I observe that with Ishan all the time. I'm like, it's so funny that he doesn't like feel corrected.
He doesn't feel corrected.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like he's like completely okay with not knowing anything.
Right. Yeah, because there's a certain like, right, of course you don't know things. And then you look up to others and they know the things, and so it's fine. But you assume like, right, they know things. Where was I going with this? And then you get older and realize no one knows anything.
Mm-hmm. Some people know some things. Whether or not they're useful, different. Whether or not there are a lot of them, different. All kinds of different questions. But you're right. A lot of people don't know nothing.
And as a kid, that would be very distinct. Like,
Yeah,
that'd
it
be
is.
terrifying if you were like, my caretakers.
Yeah.
Are idiots.
Yeah.
Oh,
Living.
life.
Human experience. Hopefully the aliens are in the mushrooms. I think it's a weird. Why are you laughing?
So funny to me.
That idea?
That's so funny to me. I think the idea also goes with like that different aliens are in different psychedelics. Maybe that's what it is.
That would be very organized of them.
Because apparently mushrooms are your friend.
Okay.
They'll talk to you.
Should we get some?
Holy shit. Why?
Are they illegal? Should we
Uh,
not be having this conversation?
it's okay to have this conversation.
Is that
I think
only theoretically?
theoretically.
We're talking theoretically.
Because I think it's legal to use them, but not to buy them.
Not to have them. You can't have them unless they're in your belly. I don't know.
I don't know if it's illegal to have them. But I think
Yeah, it's
buying
illegal
and
to have
selling.
them.
Yeah, it is? Okay.
It's illegal. I'm not gonna break the law.
No, never.
I would never do that.
But anyway, so mushrooms are like your friend and they're a guide. Apparently, DMT is not like that. I didn't even really know anything about DMT before.
I don't know that.
It sounds terrifying. It's just like the whole thing lasts about like 15 minutes.
Yeah, but it's the biggest 15 minutes of your life.
It is. Yeah. And that, for some reason, DMT is very associated with aliens. Very, very, very. Like a lot of people see aliens or other beings on DMT. And then ayahuasca. I've talked to a few people about doing their experiences with ayahuasca. Apparently, ayahuasca it doesn't talk to you, but it shows you things, and it's very feminine in nature.
That was on my intake form for the astrology reading.
What was?
Have you taken ayahuasca?
Really?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, yeah, apparently it's all about like feelings and being born and the mother.
That's the one I maybe am most scared of all of them.
Why?
Same reason I avoid good movies. Because of all the feelings.
Right. Yeah.
Feeling of so much. Mm-hmm. Robert was like, overwhelm is a big thing with you.
Mm-hmm.
You get very overwhelmed. That's what I can't is probably about.
Definitely.
See, there's something healthy about I can't even.
Yeah, there is.
Because I was like
That's a
trying to
boundary.
expel I can't.
Yeah.
But that might be a way to be like,
Nope. I can't go there right now.
Yeah, I'm not. It also made me wonder. It's interesting that I developed a drinking problem in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew that I could not quit drinking there. It was only possible here.
Why?
I think because it's so compressed. So like, I think I had to have it because it's the thing that's like making everything okay slightly. I have like horrible boundaries more and more, I'm realizing. Not more and more.
I think a lot of people do.
I don't know how sensitive a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it suck? I'm sure it's very good. Obviously, it's very good. But aren't you like, oh, all these other people who are just hanging out?
Yeah, I told you,
They're just so
I'm
good.
not able to believe that you have not developed a substance abuse problem. I don't understand. It must be because of the deprivation thing. Because the deprivation thing for the first time is working in your favor. And you're like, I can't give myself that. I can't give myself relief from this. Because otherwise, I truly do not understand why you don't have a drug problem.
Maybe it's a dependency problem. I don't know. I also just have very like strong puritanical associations with it.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
No?
No, because that's all like very idea based.
Mm.
But substances are about how you
do
feel.
what you need to do.
Yeah, man. You don't start drinking because you think it's a great idea.
It is probably the deprivation thing. And a control thing. Control.
But I have a control thing. And that's that, and the reason that I in any way enjoyed drinking whenever I did or whatever whenever I did enjoy it, not whenever I did drink, was because it was the only way to relax control.
Mm.
I would like wrench it from my cold, dead hands.
But you recognize that you needed to lose control.
Well, I think because there's too much buildup. Like, I think it's too compressed otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I felt like I needed to energetically vomit a lot.
So, yeah. I
Sounds
think that's how
insane.
I relieve the compression in a really weird way.
Deprivation.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's not adding more compression. This is going to take me a long time to think about, though. So maybe not now. I'd like to. Can we bookmark it?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And I would love it if you could solve that. Because I've been trying to work it out forever.
No problem. We're going to do this shit. Everything is figure outable.
Because it is an addiction. Having less is as much an addiction as having more.
And I think you've said before, like, that a lot of like addict content feels relevant.
Yeah, it feels like, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've said like, oh, I think I would benefit from a 12-step program.
I think that too, not necessarily about the 12-step, but like, you do kind of seem like an addict.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those people are my people, so it's not like a...
Yeah. Yeah, more and more, Hi from Portugal. Hi.
Hello.
I think my brother and I are actually quite alike.
Hmm.
In different ways. And I'm like, oh, actually, maybe my sister's the weird black sheep of the family, who somehow...
Who did you previously think it was?
She's okay.
Him?
No, I thought I was.
You thought you were?
Yeah.
You thought you were the black sheep
Yeah,
over
'cause
your
I'm
brother?
like, yeah.
This is truly not so.
I mean, I know when I read like about Robert what's his name? Bradshaw. So Robert?
I don't know.
Shame.
These like cluster
Shame.
people.
You're the one who introduced
John
me to
Bradshaw. Oh.
John. And he talks a lot about like family dynamics, and he really goes into black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's the obvious one,
Yeah.
and then I'm the obvious golden child, but it does shift. And I always thought that I was kind of like the outlier in my family because I was the quiet one, and everyone else was so loud. And I was just always okay. And then, yeah, I saw that like I had left and gone down like a very different life than everyone else.
So yeah, I think those are not mutually exclusive though, because the black sheep thing doesn't necessarily speak to what the family is like.
Okay.
It's been too long since I read it. I need to read it again.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm like, oh, I think my brother and I are really similar. And more, I'm like, I think a lot of his ideas weren't that outlandish as a kid. And maybe my sister's the one who's normal. Because
you thought you were the normal one. I'm getting confused.
It's not that I was normal. I think she's avoided that addictive personality the most.
Okay.
Maybe.
I don't, what's his name is really not into addictive personality concepts. Like,
okay, I don't know how to, what you were saying about like that I come across as an addict.
Yeah.
I think maybe she's the one who's avoided that the most.
You don't think she has her own stuff?
I think she has her own stuff, but
You said she is very sensitive?
She takes things very personally. She's really anxious. Mostly, I think she really struggles with anxiety.
Hmm.
But I think she's very good in like creating systems. And we all are. We all are, obviously. She's always been very good at recognizing what she needs and just getting it. And not really caring. Like she was just from a very young age able to like call out the bullshit in the family and be like, well, this is bad. I don't like this.
Hmm.
I'm going to go over here
Hmm.
and get what I need from other people because I obviously can't get it from here.
Hmm.
And I didn't have that discernment.
Well,
Like I wasn't able to do that.
no, but you sort of shifted primary families. Like you.
Yeah, but that was later. Like not as like a 9-year-old. I wasn't doing that.
And was Leah a 9-year-old for the thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, that's what she said.
Where she was like, I'm giving up on this shit?
Kind of. It was just like, they're wrong.
Interesting character, your sister.
She's very interesting. And it might just be because youngest child does tend to get more resources. So maybe that's probably why.
It's so funny to think that like kids are only children or youngest children until they're not.
Until they're not, and then
Yeah.
they're just people.
Well, no, I mean like Aditi was like I misspoke when I said only child. I meant like
Oh yeah.
she was the youngest
Mm-hmm.
until so she like got time as the youngest.
Right.
Like that did happen. That's an interesting thing always.
Yeah. That is interesting. And I remember the day that I was like, I think I'm a terrible, terrible sibling. Remember that? And you were like,
Yeah.
No, you're fine.
You were like, I think I'm a succubus who drained my family.
I am. I think it's really startling when you're like, I'm not the youngest anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So all of which to say,
Yeah.
so when you are the youngest, and if that like is what's happening, and you're like, okay, cool, like everybody is obsessed with Ishan, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He is getting that it's not only child, but it's like the baby.
Mm-hmm.
He's the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And to then suddenly like have to face that you're not the baby is probably really disturbing.
Right. And then people start like cooing over the baby for things that you used to do. Then now
That's probably really upsetting.
you're like, wait, but that's supposed to be me over there.
Yeah. You know what's weird? My sister apparently claims that I spent more time at home, but she's not counting the time before I was born.
What do you mean? Like that she got all that time too?
She's minusing our age difference. Like when she's like,
She's
Nithya was
how many years
home
older
longer,
than
4.5.
you? 4, yeah.
She was like, Nithya was home longer. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's because I'm here
Right.
in time.
Yeah.
So of course I was chronologically home longer.
Wait.
She graduated high school
Uh-huh.
and moved.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't old enough to graduate at the time.
Right?
I kept going to school.
Yes.
And that time that I spent at home, that she was in Canada and wherever else, she's like, you guys had that time together.
Yeah. But she had that time. Okay, I got it.
And I was
But
like, wait.
But it's like you at that time when I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I can see it being that the time might be more valuable when you're 17 or 20 than when you are 1 because you're not aware of it.
Questionable. Okay.
That you're not aware of it?
Who cares if you're not aware of it? I'm sure that time's really valuable.
No, like in a way that you can like be happy about now.
Okay.
Although that is a really crazy thing. Like to be so excited about sharing things with Ishan, knowing fully well he's never going to remember a single thing of this, is kind of hilarious. Like it's almost going to be like he wasn't there for any of this.
But I think like memory is too. He is here for it.
Yeah, of course.
Like he won't be able to like pinpoint whoever he becomes. Like he won't have access to all the memories, but it is important.
I'm not saying it's not important.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's weird that it's gonna be like it's erased. Like he's never gonna remember this.
Yeah.
He is for sure never gonna remember this. That's a weird feeling. Like he won't be able to relate to this feeling that I'm having with him in a two-way way. Like I'm gonna have to tell him later what it was like. That's wild. Because he's like there for the whole
he's
thing.
still there, yeah.
I wonder why we don't remember long ago things.
So first of all, I think we do. The only I'm not the authority on this. I'm sure there's really
What?
good answers. I was just like, what am I saying right now? I'm sure there's actual answers. What I think it is that when you're young,
There's not actual answers.
no, there's not. What I think it is that like everything's much more amorphous.
Mm-hmm.
So like we do remember, but we don't remember
Yeah.
in the way that we form memories now. So we
Yeah.
don't associate them as memories.
That sounds very accurate. That sounds very sciencey, very accurate.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, man.
So, I mean, that's interesting. Like, he might actually remember, but he just doesn't. You don't know he remembers. Like, yeah, of course.
Do you know that like when people black out from drinking and stuff, that they are continuing to make the memory? It's just that it gets misplaced.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm really hooked on this and mention it every week. So it's in there.
I also was listening to something about anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? It kind of sounds like they're
Is
not
there
actually
a-
sure. It might be. They're not really sure what happens when you
Wait.
put someone under.
Did we clarify this unconscious? Fuck. We never do any of the homework.
But they're not really sure what's happening. And it's possible that actually, like, you are going through a trauma.
What?
I think it's to do with like the blackout. So that's why I talked about it. So with the blackout, you could be like, well, whatever, I won't remember in the morning, so it doesn't matter. But
Because you're drunk still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which obviously I've never been. So you will think like, oh yeah, this won't affect me because I won't remember it. I won't have access to it, but it will affect you.
Yeah, I don't think you generally, at least I was never like, I'm never going to remember this. But I also don't lucid dreams. So.
But anyway, like it could potentially like, yeah, it gets misfiled, but like, yeah, it has the potential to
mess you up if you're
For sure. I mean,
without you knowing
repression is like that.
right. With the same thing too, like with anesthesia. So they're like cutting into you,
Mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason, you're not there, but you are there. Like, what is actually happening with anesthesia?
Unconsciousness.
But it's very different than, and again, I don't know the difference between unconsciousness and
When someone's unconscious, I think you can cut them.
so wait. I think you can cut them. Yeah, because they won't wake up.
They won't wake up if they're unconscious.
Okay. For you, is unconsciousness, because the thing with anesthesia that's so mysterious, actually, when I actually think about it, is it's like no time has passed. When you wake up, you're aware that time has passed.
I haven't gone unconscious that many times. Because I'm not talking about sleep.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you cut someone in their sleep,
You're gonna wake
they're
up.
gonna wake up.
Yeah.
I haven't gone unconscious.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to the unconscious place, wherever that fucking place is.
The unconscious. So, but for you, is being unconscious, is there a notice of time passing?
I don't think so.
Okay. What is consciousness?
They really need more words.
They do actually.
Unconscious, conscious, conscious, unconscious. That's 2 words.
But also, so why does anesthesia not work on some people?
Oh, that I don't know.
And you don't know if it's you. Like, there's no way to test for it.
Well, that's horrifying.
Oh, it is.
But if it would, is that true? Because then wouldn't they be like legally forced at this point to like trial it on you before they do any cutting? Because that seems to me like if that were really true, that it just doesn't work on a bunch of people.
That they would have.
That there would be something, at least that like legally protects those people, or protects because because what you're then inflicting on people is.
Oh yeah, and it's like locked in syndrome too. So like they're fully awake during the operation. They can't speak. Can't move.
Yeah.
And they feel everything.
Yeah. That can't be happening that much because people would lose their shit.
I forget the percentage, but
I've drunk too much water.
ugh. Okay.
Wax away.
I'm gonna look up
Are you gonna look up?
how many people. How many are immune to anesthesia? What? No, there's definitely, this is saying, anyway, this is saying all kinds of different things. What is anesthesia? I know this is really interesting. I'm really glad you all are staying for this. General anesthesia works by interrupting nerve signals in your brain and body. Oh my God. So it's literally just making it so that your brain isn't talking to your body.
Have you ever missed a cue because you was in the bathroom?
Mr. Q?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, I'm supposed to be on stage right now, and instead I'm in the bathroom?
No.
You haven't done a lot of theater?
No,
That-
not a lot.
Was a question. That sounded like a statement.
But even so, I would never. Have you?
Mm-hmm. In high school. But it's a little bit of it's a difficult position because sometimes you have to be because you're nervous. So then actually the closer it gets, the more you're like, no, I really have to be.
Yeah, that's true.
So what are you looking up?
I'm trying to understand what anesthesia is.
I don't know if now's a good time for that.
I think now's the Welcome to the channel where we look up things on our phone.
Yeah.
And then read it out loud to you.
The least we could do is tattoo something provocative on our eyelids.
And
I don't know what that would be.
I just think this is something we all take for granted. That is fascinating.
Everything is like that.
I know.
Everything is like that. I think sleep is the weirdest fucking thing.
It is actually. Everyone just does it. No wonder kids don't want to go to sleep. That's terrifying.
It's so strange that you like look like you're dead.
It's like, so we're gonna close our eyes and you're gonna go someplace in your mind.
I mean, this is obviously not like an intellectual
What?
impulse.
Yeah.
No, you sleep because your body is like, which is even funnier. That you can't keep going and that you're just like, no, I must lie still for a while. There's no way I can keep doing this. I need to just be like, I've got to be here for a while. Like a considerable while. Maybe don't wait.
I want to know how it works, not what happens to me.
Unconsciousness?
Yes.
We can't do
Apparently-
this right now.
Okay, fine. Apparently, it has to do with that your brain and your mind stop talking to each other.
Your brain and your mind?
I mean your body and your mind. So it cuts off the connecting nerves.
Unconsciousness.
Anesthesia.
That makes a lot of sense. And if I had thought about it, I may have come up with it as my fourth or fifth guess.
Great.
Because everything is about communication.
Mm-hmm. So your body is like being cut open, but because the connectors
You
to
just
your
don't know it.
brain. Yeah, exactly. Like you're not getting the signal, this hurts,
Yeah, which is so interesting that you need to have a brain to feel pain.
right?
Like, that's bizarre. It so feels like something's happening to your foot or your whatever. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, but that's not where the pain is happening.
That's not where it's happening.
And even like, so your sensation of where your foot is happening here too. Like that's
Well, that's what's it called?
you're making that up.
That's what's it called?
What do you mean?
Proprioception.
Mm.
Your ability to model where you are
Yeah,
and what it means is proprioception.
right.
That's why I'm asking my mother always to be hitting herself.
Yeah.
Hitting herself.
You know, when you tell your mom to hit herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you need to like make a connect.
Mm.
I thought it was very interesting when I can't remember his name suddenly.
Who?
The boyfriend from Virginia. Sarah's.
Paul.
Paul. I thought it was very interesting when he said where the mind can't go, the chi can't flow. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
It really stuck with me. Because I would almost sometimes think that there might be too much chi clogging up an area that you don't know, that you can't go to. And that's why there's a traffic jam there. Of chi.
No, it's because It's because the chi is breaking. If it just didn't break.
What do you mean?
I'm trying to make a joke about Michael.
Michael. Oh!
If it didn't break, then there'd be no traffic jam.
If it would stop acting like there was traffic, there wouldn't be traffic.
Exactly. Oh.
I was hearing BREAK.
So you think like, oh yeah. Okay. You think my brain is working.
Send some chi to your brain. Or maybe there's too much chi in
You
your
think?
brain.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, you think there can be too much chi in an area,
Yeah.
and it will cause pain
I
and
don't know
harm?
about that, but yeah. I've got no idea how chi works.
What is chi?
Prana,
What is prana?
life force,
It's like what?
energy.
Energy.
Everything comes back to that.
It's too much energy in a certain area.
No.
Is that? I mean that. That's where they say like there's too much chi in all of our heads, probably. Which is why Bruce was like, so just roll out your ankles if you can't sleep.
Because it takes your chi to your feet.
Yeah.
I feel like you asked a question. I can't remember now what it is, but I thought it was interesting.
You think that chi
Oh.
causes harm?
No. I think that it is important to have a regular flow. And so any stoppages, blockages
Mhm.
are going to create imbalance in the system.
Mhm.
That's what I think. So whether it's caused by too much or not enough, I don't know all of that. I think maybe it just means that it's not on schedule. Like it's not making all the destinations. Because that's why they like stimulate meridians and stuff to bring the chi to those areas.
And that's what my dad should have cared about his physical health.
Because otherwise there's stagnant chi.
Yeah. Because it's like, sure, fine, intelligence is great. So is your body.
You have to choose.
Yeah, you don't have to choose.
You have to choose. I don't know why we have to choose. This is why this is in my OkCupid thing.
Everyone has a body, therefore everyone has to take care of it. End of story.
That's very un-American.
I know it is.
This
Yeah,
is the
like
land
what
of
if
the free,
everyone
so
did yoga?
This is the land of the free. You
It's
need
just
to-
like, yeah, do it.
yeah. You can't legislate morality, unfortunately.
It's not, yeah.
Because that's then like a concentration camp is what that is. That's a prison camp.
But we know, I don't know, whatever. Okay.
Like no one can make you go to a doctor. No one can make you anything.
But we know enough about human nature now that like humans don't want the things that are good for them for the most part.
We're gonna get back into the capitalism thing
I know.
because that's
I know.
every.
It
It's like
seems to
choose
me
your
though,
own
if you
adventure.
know that about yourself, if you know like, okay, so it looks like human beings desire things that are bad for them.
Mhm. First of all, that's not an accident. You're assuming it just happens to happen.
No, it's not an accident. But in today's world, it's not very good. It will
It
not.
depends on who you're talking about because it's great for the people who run Kraft. Mac and cheese.
Oh, for their business model, but
Yeah.
like, they have to follow it too. I'm more thinking like, let's take business out of it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying like, as a person, okay. So, for instance, I really, really, really want to quit eating candy,
Okay.
and I might be really close.
Where are the
finally.
Oreos at? I haven't
Um,
looked at them in weeks.
They, they had a good shelf life, and then
Are they gone?
last night there was an incident. But to be fair, there was only like 2.5 left. But
How
that
long
might
have there
also-
only
That
been?
might also be my fault.
Definitely, because there was a lot when I started my stupid fucking diet.
And if you need me to replace them, I
No!
will replace them.
No,
but
no,
maybe
no,
it's
no.
best
No,
that there
no,
be a
no.
break.
I also want to point out that those are the ones that I replaced from.
I know.
Like, we can't just keep replacing each other's organs. That's like enabling.
But I kind of understand that. Well, like you just need to know that they're there. Do you have that ever? You're like, in
No,
case
'cause
if
we-
it's bad, there's Oreos.
No, we talked about this
Yeah.
because like I just take it, the medicine.
Right. You'll just and I'll like keep it at arm's length. Okay, so I really want to quit candy.
Okay.
Okay. Now, whatever. I got like 2 bags of Sour Patch Kids today. And I'm
Today.
Today. Yeah. And I'm eating them on the walk home. Because, I can't wait till I get home. No, I need to tear into that thing right now.
Yeah.
And I'm eating it, and it's like, and I'm looking at it, and I was kind of like thinking about that smoking book and like just becoming like really aware of what a cigarette actually is and the sensations and all of that. And I'm like staring down at this. It's not even identifiable as food.
Yeah.
It is basically plastic.
Yeah.
Covered in sugar.
Yeah.
And still I'm like,
Lots of things are like that.
That's like, I think I finally was like, how did anyone ever convince me to eat this? Like, this is not food. And someone was like, no, it's okay, you can eat it. I was like, okay.
But then when you did,
But then when I did, it tasted good. But anyway, so it tastes good. And I know that about myself. I don't trust myself or my desires or my urges to not eat something that has zero value for me and will only do harm. So like, I would like to have someone else, I don't know, I would like to like implement something that is beyond myself, because my cravings will lead me astray.
only if you follow them.
Right, and chances are I will follow them
Why?
because I have in the past.
The past is predictive of the future.
I mean, right now it is.
Is that what?
What?
It's not very long.
I know. I know it isn't.
I think that outsourcing boundaries never works. Ultimately,
Because then you're just creating another. Okay.
it's like a substitute, because there will inevitably be a situation where I am not there to be like, Sour Patch Kids are bad, or whatever you set up. Like, it will come down to you. Because the other thing is that, like, in reality, even if I say that, you could still go get them.
I don't necessarily mean to another person, by the way.
Oh, I thought you said to
No,
another person.
No. I actually mean like human beings are not good at this. Like human beings.
This is a
think
chicken
that
and
something
egg
will
thing.
make we just like we have unrealistic expectations about how something will make us feel.
This is a chicken and egg thing, because
Oh,
it
okay.
sounds like you're saying that this is a feature of humans, and actually it's not. It's a feature of the food. Like, we aren't responding badly to the food. The food has been designed
to respond to us.
to. So it's like it's not a failing or a feat or any, like, we've gotten hacked.
Mm.
Like, it's literally addictive. The stuff, like processed foods and shit. So lots of science has gone into attuning Oreo to you, rather than, oh, there's this thing about us, and that is that we don't know our ass from our elbows when it comes to nutrition. Because we do. It's that every species does. But we've like gotten all fucked up from using what we know about ourselves to exploit ourselves.
Right.
Okay. I think that's like a perfect right. So we can be hacked towards something detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
Like meaning our like senses can definitely lead us astray.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it takes doing something that like feels wrong. This is where it gets really weird. Or feels upsetting, or feels. We started talking about this because of like everyone should do yoga, and then you're like, that's very un-American because everyone's like, no, I get to do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like what you want isn't necessarily
But that's all
your
we've got.
path to happiness.
That's all we've got.
There's not even something that you really have. Because, like, why do you want the things that you want? It's not like you decided to want those.
I mean, that's getting pretty philosophical.
I know, but that's.
It's one of those things that's like democracy is the worst system of government except for all the other systems of government. So you're right. It's not like it is an illusion.
I know what you mean. Like, it's a problem. I see it as a problem. Because it's like, right, that's all people have is individuality, really. And at the same time, you know, it's like that money conversation. Like, what does everyone just like follow the same money plan because that's what's best for them, or do they get to individuate themselves?
We're on an individualism jag.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people. That's what we've decided. Because all of the other systems have more or less failed spectacularly to varying degrees, and that's obviously debatable. And it's hardly true that America's the only success story, but in terms of like the democratic system, which hinges on people's ability to do that, to do whatever, there's just not a better idea. Yet. Maybe you can come up with one.
Okay, I'm gonna write a pamphlet.
Maybe you should write a pamphlet, once in a while. Tell people what to do.
Yeah, it seems to me like taking the that doesn't work for me argument out of it would actually be hugely helpful for people.
Mm-hmm.
If there was like, hey, you're special and unique in all kinds of ways, but you're also a human being. And for human beings, this tends to work really well.
But people have that. They know that. They're told this tends to work really well for human beings. They know they should eat better and exercise and sleep well and all of that stuff.
But then like Anna Kendrick, she's like, it didn't work for me.
Anna Kendrick cannot be our sample size. Like that obtuse piece of writing, which probably misrepresents her.
Probably. Oh, yeah.
I felt like that was also important to say, which I didn't say yesterday, is that it's not her, like it's not her mouth, so I don't know if she
No, and it's the frame of it, and also there's like she's on some hike somewhere in a see-through purple gauzy thing, so
she's like
doesn't.
This is wellness.
I'm pretty sure that is wellness, right?
I know.
Static hiking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Static hiking. What would that feel like? It'd probably be like tripping in the woods on mushrooms.
Hmm.
Should get some mushrooms. The legal kind.
Yeah. Oyster.
Oyster. Shy take. My take.
Reishi.
Reishi.
Reishi. Turkey tail.
Cordyceps.
Chaga. I'm running out. Wait.
Lion's mane.
Oh, damn it. That was going to be my next one. Portobello.
Fuck. Oh, such a hiding in plain sight. Button.
Cremini.
Oh, you hid that one. Baby Bellas.
Oh. Okay. Oh. The little ones. The little weedy ones.
Unagi.
Oh, no.
No, that's eel.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh. White. White mushrooms.
That's what I was thinking of. Porcini.
What are porcini mushrooms?
What are they? The dehydrated ones. They're the ones that always come. They're stank. Fantastic. And you rehydrate them.
Wow.
They're actually one of the finest mushrooms.
Really? The porcine.
I think so.
Ugh. I'm out. I don't know.
Did I ever tell you about? I can't believe I haven't made you play this before. I just talk about it.
We're playing this
We'll
now.
play like game time.
Okay, so.
My friend's friend made up a game called Puppies or Curtains.
Okay.
And like, so you think of a thing.
Yeah.
And then I say, is it more like puppies or curtains? And you say, yeah, curtains. And then I say, is it more like curtains or plants? And you say, curtains. And then I go, is it more like curtains or light? And you go, light. And then I go, ew, is it more like light or so like that
Ah,
until you guess it.
interesting.
I think that this game is brilliant.
Yeah.
And it is maybe the most frustrating game. Like, I think it's harder than chess. Because there's more dimensions.
Right? I mean, so like obviously the whole thing is association.
Yeah, so there's a lot of subjectivity in it. There's a lot of interpretation in it. So you have to start to isolate what the thing is about. Like, why that?
Yeah.
And sometimes you go for a long time down the wrong track.
Right. Ooh, we should play sometime.
Yeah, if you have eternity.
Right.
But it's guessable.
Yeah,
It's
get
doable.
that.
It just can get very, very, like, it's easy to get stuck in a rut. It's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to, like, yeah, go down rabbit holes. Or more like fucking wormholes.
Can you use anything? Can you be like, is it more like Abraham Lincoln or Margaret Thatcher?
Of course.
And then yeah, okay. So anything is up for grabs
Yeah.
as long as you're just comparing. Okay.
As long as it's a thing. not like, ah,
But even then, you could be like, is it more like didactic reasoning or
like waves crash. Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah, it can get, and that's just kind of why it's insane. Like it's wide. It's wide.
Right.
I remember being in like Wee Spa or something, or some like spa castle with my sister and her ex-boyfriend and with Dan, and we spent a lot of the day guessing Dan's fucking stupid one. But I finally cracked it.
What was
Poseidon.
it?
And you can be a real dick when you're picking something.
Right.
I don't think Poseidon was like
No,
that dickish.
You can get there.
It didn't seem like it for a while.
Right.
Ugh. Do we do anything other than talk on this stream?
You know, once upon a time we did.
Do you think that we are doggy paddling to not reach the end?
I am today.
Today, but not yesterday?
No. But the past few days have been a bit different because I honestly felt like what you were saying was really important and needed to be said.
Thanks.
Yeah.
For me, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not for them.
You don't know that?
I don't know that. Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, as you know, talking is very helpful.
Yeah, and I also think there's something about talking. There's something different about like us talking, and then talking for like the world to see potentially.
There is
Yeah, it's just like slightly more vulnerable.
slightly, yeah. I think they feel to me very similar, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's like it's not a secret. Maybe that doesn't exist for you.
It's what?
It's not a secret. For me, it could be like a conversation between two people. It's like you never mention this to anyone, and there's something like secret about it.
Yes, there's
and
something
closeted.
exposed.
Yeah.
There's something exposed for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I'm very aware that we're on chapter 5, and we're like, yep.
Home stretch.
I don't believe this book is very long either.
Really?
Do I look? I'm looking. I know there's epilogues. So really,
I'm gonna be bothered when it sneaks up on me. So I would almost rather know, I think.
well, there's 2 epilogues. Like, are we just making nothing out of nothing yet?
Of course there's 2 epilogues.
There's 2.
Doesn't that make so much sense though now?
Yeah, I guess so.
Remember that whole section of Pierre's diary that we went into for the longest time for no reason? That was so great.
Look. What is it?
Rus.
Rus. Bejuov.
It was like no vowels. What was it? That
He
was
full on gonna kill Napoleon.
that was insane. Pierre's insane.
Yeah, he is. Oh, where'd you go?
I really wish there were mushrooms here. What are you doing?
There's
Give me a
20.
second.
There's 20 chapters in this book.
Okay. I think the shortest chapters are like 3 pages.
Yeah. There's stuff.
Okay.
There's stuff. There's
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. So we're just gonna put this feeling off till Thursday.
I mean, yeah. How do we want to treat this? Do we want to treat like the end of the books as the end of the book? Or are we just going to be like, no, you know what? There's epilogues.
No, the epilogues have to count.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're fine.
Yeah.
What is an ending anyway?
And we'll be fine when it's over, unless I pull a Sopranos and refuse to read the last page. Imagine if I'm like, I'm leaving. I can't be here for this.
Wonder if it'll be satisfying.
Of course it will.
You think?
No.
No. Not
But-
with this.
But therefore, yes. Like, we're gonna have the fogly task of coming to peace with whatever this shit is.
Yeah.
And that is thrilling for the first time in my life, I think. War and Peace has changed my brain. I feel like it's changed my life. I am not exaggerating. I was talking about it today to my folks.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I think maybe this changed my life. Not the act of doing it, like the book.
Yeah.
That seems so unlikely. I thought it was going to be so masculine, by the way.
Yeah.
And I realized we're talking about the masculine, not like. So I think he's kind of sexist, right? But he is, I think, maybe the most feminine writer I've seen in. Maybe the most feminine male writer I've ever come across, which is so fun because I thought it was going to be even more masculine than other books that are also.
Yeah, I see why you think that. And he's also a product of his time. And obviously writes women in a certain way.
Mhm.
But all that being said, yeah, it's very feminine.
Super.
Mhm.
And that distinction is understandably very confusing. The gender versus the symbolic values of masculine and feminine.
Mhm.
But I think this is a perfect example because he is both sexist and feminine.
Yeah.
So, like, this is what the male feminine looks like.
Do you think like masculine and feminine gets too confusing and we should just come up with different words for it?
Yes and no. So I think that will lead down the same path that gave us the phrase the universe.
Right.
So I think whatever we end up with will take on a flavor of the universe because everyone's just trying not to say God. But yes, I think it's very confusing, and it's a concern for the pamphlet.
Okay.
I'll tell you that much.
Great.
Say that much.
We should recap quickly.
Oh,
So we started book 15 last night,
last book.
and we caught up with Natasha and the Rostovs because we hadn't seen them for a while, and Mary, and just them dealing with their grief over Prince Andrew.
Quickly followed by dealing with their grief over Petya,
Yeah.
the little boy, the little baby Rostov.
Which
The wee Rostov.
Which actually sounds like it saved Natasha because she had to go into caretaker mode and look after her mother.
Yeah, that did occur to me when they were like when he went she just called Tolstoy she. That when he went into that thing about how like she withdrew from her family and got like distant and cold with them because they didn't unite with her in her grief.
Mhm.
And so it was like this offensive. When he was talking about that, I was like, oh, this is gonna remind her of her family and like bring everything back together.
Right.
I'm glad that is what happened.
Mhm.
Because her being without her family is just like, it's like a really sad thing to me.
Yeah.
Like maybe more than other people without their families. Like maybe more than Mary without her family. Clearly.
She's like you.
In what way?
And that her family's everything to her.
Yeah, imagine being like, going from being like, oh, my family's everything, to being like, no one understands me.
Right.
My dad thinks I've emotionally differentiated more in the last 6 months to a year, and I was like, oh, sorry, wow. What shit is he talking about?
I don't know.
Gods, what the mother of Paul are you talking about?
Like from them?
Yeah,
Maybe he's right.
maybe. I don't know shit about shit.
I'd be curious to hear his arguments.
Cool. Chapter 5.
Mhm.
In 1812 and 1813, Kutuzov was openly accused of blundering. The emperor was dissatisfied with him, and in a history recently written by order of the highest authorities, it is said that Kutuzov was a cunning court liar, frightened of the name of Napoleon, and that by his blunders at Krasno and the Berezina, he deprived the Russian army of the glory of complete victory over the French.
There's just a footnote that I want to read.
Nerd
History-
alert.
Well, I don't know. I like
Nerd alert.
You have to read the footnotes. History of the year 1812, the character of Kutuzov and reflections on the unsatisfactory results of the battles at Krasno by Bogdanovich.
Sorry, was that the footnote?
That's the footnote.
What the shit, guys? Of course we couldn't get through the book without an unnecessary, randomly placed footnote.
There you go.
Yeah, let's wait till book 15 to do footnotes. And then let's just do one. Or maybe there'll be more.
Maybe. No, I'm sure that's it. That's
might
all we
be.
get. And then the occasional French translation, but not all of them.
She said in French.
Such is the fate, not of great men, grand hommes,
Like
See?
that.
whom the Russian mind does not acknowledge, but of those rare and always solitary individuals who, discerning the will of Providence, submit their personal will to it. The hatred and contempt of the crowd punish such men for discerning the higher laws.
Providence?
Mm-hmm.
They're like the universe.
Yeah, it is. Divine providence.
Should we use that word instead? Would you prefer that?
Providence, I think, is slightly different. And it's like manifesting.
In its manifesting?
It's like manifesting. It's like this has been provided.
For Russian historians, strange and terrible to say, Napoleon, that most insignificant tool of history who never anywhere, even in exile, showed human dignity. Oh my god. Napoleon is the object of adulation and enthusiasm. He is grand. But Kutuzov, the man who, from the beginning to the end of his activity in 1812, never once swerving by word or deed from Borodino to Vilna, presented an example exceptional in history of self-sacrifice and a present, I think someone is a descendant of Kutuzov, and a present consciousness of the future importance of what was happening. Kutuzov seems to them something indefinite and pitiful, and when speaking of him and of the year 1812, they always seem a little ashamed.
And yet it is difficult to imagine an historical character whose activity was so unswervingly directed to a single aim. And it would be difficult to imagine any aim more worthy or more consonant with the will of the whole people. Still more difficult would it be to find an instance in history of the aim of an historical personage being so completely accomplished as that to which all Kutuzov's efforts were directed in 1812.
Kutuzov never talked of 40 centuries looking down from the pyramids of the sacrifices he ordered for the fatherland, wonder what that means, or of what he intended to accomplish or had accomplished. In general, he said nothing about himself, adopted no pose, always appeared to be the simplest and most ordinary of men, and said the simplest and most ordinary things. He wrote letters to his daughters and to Madame de Staël, read novels, liked the society of pretty women, jested with generals, officers, and soldiers, and never contradicted those who tried to prove anything to him. When Count Rostopchin at the Yauza Bridge galloped up to Kutuzov with personal reproaches for having caused the destruction of Moscow and said, "How is it you promise not to abandon Moscow without a battle?" Kutuzov replied, "And I shall not abandon Moscow without a battle, though Moscow was then already abandoned." When Arakchev coming, I don't understand what the point of that story is. When Arakchev coming, he just talks nonsense, I think. When Arakchev coming to him from the emperor said that Ermolov ought to be appointed chief of the artillery, Kutuzov replied, "Yes, I was just saying so myself," though a moment before he had said quite the contrary. What did it matter to him, who then alone, amid a senseless crowd, understood the whole tremendous significance of what was happening? What did it matter to him whether Rostopchin attributed the calamities of Moscow to him or to himself? Still less could it matter to him who was appointed chief of the artillery. Yeah, it is that he just talks nonsense.
So Kutuzov talks nonsense because he knows that talk doesn't matter?
Yeah, because it's of no.
Okay. Not merely in these cases, but continually did that old man, who by experience of life had reached the conviction that thoughts and the words serving as their expression are not what move people, use quite meaningless words that happen to enter his head.
Interesting. But that man, so heedless of his words, did not once during the whole time of his activity utter one word inconsistent with the single aim which he moved throughout the whole war. Toward which he moved throughout the whole war. Obviously, in spite of himself, in very diverse circumstances, he repeatedly expressed his real thoughts with the bitter conviction that he would not be understood. Beginning with the Battle of Borodino, from which time his disagreement with those about him began, he alone said that the Battle of Borodino was a victory, and repeated this both verbally and in his dispatches and reports up to the time of his death. He alone said that the loss of Moscow is not the loss of Moscow. Of Russia. In reply to Lauriston's proposal of peace, he said, "There can be no peace, for such is the people's will." He alone, during the retreat of the French, said that all our maneuvers are useless. Everything is being accomplished of itself, better than we could desire, that the enemy must be offered a golden bridge, that neither the Tarantino, the Vyazma, nor the Krasno battles were necessary, that we must keep some force to reach the frontier with, and that we would not sacrifice a single Russian for 10 Frenchmen.
And his courtier, as he is described to us, who lies to Arakchev to please the emperor, he alone, incurring thereby the emperor's displeasure, said in Vilna that to carry the war beyond the frontier is useless and harmful.
Nor do words alone prove that only he understood the meaning of the events. His actions, without the smallest deviation, were all directed to one and the same threefold end. 1, to brace all his strength for conflict with the French. 2, to defeat them. And 3, to drive them out of Russia, minimizing as far as possible the sufferings of our people and of our army.
This procrastinator Kutuzov, whose motto was patience and time, this enemy of decisive action, gave battle at Borodino, investing the preparations for it with unparalleled solemnity. This Kutuzov, who before the Battle of Austerlitz began, said that it would be lost, he alone, in contradiction to everyone else, declared, till his death, that Borodino was a victory, despite the assurance of generals that the battle was lost, and despite the fact that for an army to have to retire after winning a battle was unprecedented. He alone, during the whole retreat, insisted that battles, which were useless then, should not be fought, and that a new war should not be begun, nor the frontiers of Russia crossed.
It is easy now to understand the significance of these events, if only we abstain from attributing to the activity of the mass aims that existed only in the heads of... If only we abstain from attributing to the activity of the mass aims that existed only in the heads of a dozen individuals, for the events and results now lie before us.
But how did that old man, alone in opposition to the general opinion, so truly discern the importance of the people's view of the events that in all his activity he was never once untrue to it?
The source of that extraordinary power of penetrating the meaning of the events when occurring lay in the national... The source of that extraordinary power of penetrating the meaning of the events then occurring lay in the national feeling which he possessed in full purity and strength.
Only the recognition of the fact that he possessed this feeling caused the people, in so strange a manner, contrary to the Tsar's wish, to select him, an old man in disfavor, to be the representative in the national war. And only that feeling placed him on that highest human pedestal from which he, the commander-in-chief, devoted all his powers not to slaying and destroying men, but to saving and showing pity on them.
That simplest, modest, that simple, modest, and therefore truly great figure could not be cast in the false mold of a European hero, the supposed ruler of men that history has invented.
To a lackey, no man can be great, for a lackey has his own conception of greatness.
Huh?
I don't know. I guess he's the
Is
lackey.
he saying to a lackey, no man can be great because lackeys are dongles?
No, I think he's using lackey as like a different. He's saying Kutuzov's a lackey. Why won't it let me? A servant. To a lackey, no man can be great. Is he saying Kutuzov was a servant? Or that other people can't conceive of him as great because they have their own ideas of greatness.
I think the key word is conception. I don't know. Like he couldn't fit into the shape of the European hero.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't literally be poured into the mold.
Yeah.
Because
Literally.
by literally I mean figuratively.
They melted him down. And they're like, he doesn't fit.
This is not gonna work, guys.
Because he was so stout.
Stoutest. And they were trying to pour him into Napoleon's mold. And Napoleon's like 3 feet tall.
He's like, can never be me. Yeah.
So he didn't fit
Mm-hmm.
into the mold.
Mm-hmm.
Because real greatness doesn't matter to a lackey. What matters to a lackey is the idea of it. The mold matters more than the man.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what I meant by conception.
Yeah. I got it. Chapter 6. The 5th of November was the first day of what is called the Battle of Krasno. Toward evening, after much disputing and many mistakes made by generals who did not go to their proper places, and after adjutants who had been sent about with counter orders, when it had become plain that the enemy was everywhere in flight and that there could and would be no battle, Kutuzov left Krasno and went to Dobro, whither his headquarters had that day been transferred.
The day was clear and frosty. Kutuzov rode to Dobro on his plump little white horse, followed by an enormous suite of discontented generals who whispered among themselves behind his back. All along the road, groups of French prisoners captured that day, there were 7,000 of them, were crowding to warm themselves at campfires. Near Dobro, an immense crowd of tattered prisoners, buzzing with talk and wrapped and bandaged in anything they had been able to get a hold of, was standing in the road beside a long row of unharnessed French guns. At the approach of the commander-in-chief, the buzz of talk ceased. All eyes were fixed on Kutuzov, who, wearing a white cap, with a red band and a padded overcoat that bulged on his round shoulders, moved slowly along the road on his white horse. One of the generals was reporting to him where the guns and prisoners had been captured.
Kutuzov seemed preoccupied and did not listen to what the general was saying. He screwed up his eyes with a dissatisfied look as he gazed attentively and fixedly at these prisoners, who presented a specially wretched appearance. Most of them were disfigured by frostbitten noses and cheeks, and nearly all had red, swollen, and festering eyes.
Jesus. One group of the French stood close to the road, and two of them, one of whom had his face covered with sores, were tearing a piece of raw flesh with their hands. There was something horrible and bestial in the fleeting glance they threw at the riders, and in the malevolent expression with which, after a glance at Kutuzov, the soldier with the sores immediately turned away and went on with what he was doing.
Kutuzov looked long and intently at these two soldiers. He puckered his face, screwed up his eyes, and pensively swayed his head. At another spot, he noticed a Russian soldier laughingly patting a Frenchman on the shoulder, saying something to him in a friendly manner, and Kutuzov, with the same expression on his face, again swayed his head.
What were you saying? He asked the general, who, continuing his report, directed the commander-in-chief's attention to some standards captured from the French and standing in front of the Preobrazhensk regiment.
Ah, the standards, said Kutuzov, evidently detaching himself with difficulty from the thoughts that preoccupied him.
He looked about him absently. Thousands of eyes were looking at him from all sides, awaiting a word from him.
He stopped in front of the Preobrazhensk regiment, sighed deeply, and closed his eyes. One of his suite beckoned to the soldiers carrying the standards to advance and surround the commander-in-chief with them.
Kutuzov was silent for a few seconds, and then, submitting with evident reluctance to the duty imposed by his position, raised his head and began to speak. A throng of officers surrounded him. He looked attentively around at the circle of officers, recognizing several of them.
I thank you all, he said, addressing the soldiers and then again the officers. In the stillness around him, his slowly uttered words were distinctly heard. I thank you all for your hard and faithful service. The victory is complete, and Russia will not forget you. Honor to you forever.
He paused and looked around.
Lower its head, lower it, he said to a soldier who had accidentally lowered the French eagle he was holding before the Preobrazhensk standards. Lower, lower, that's it. Hurrah, lads, he added, addressing the men with a rapid movement of his chin. Hurrah, lads.
While the soldiers were shouting, Kutuzov leaned forward in his saddle and bowed his head, and his eye lit up with a mild and apparently ironic gleam.
You see, brothers, said he when the shouts had ceased, and all had at once his voice and the expression of his face changed. And all at once his voice and the expression of his face changed. It was no longer the commander-in-chief speaking, but an ordinary old man who wanted to tell his comrades something very important.
There was a stir among the throng of officers and in the ranks of the soldiers who moved that they might hear better what he was going to say.
You see, brothers, I know it's hard for you, but it can't be helped. Bear up, it won't be for long now. We'll see our visitors off, and then we'll rest. The Tsar won't forget your service. It is hard for you, but still you are at home while you see what they have come to, said he, pointing to the prisoners. Worse off than our poorest beggars. While they were strong, we didn't spare ourselves, but now we may even pity them. They are human beings too. Isn't it so, lads?
He looked around, and in the direct, respectful, wondering gaze fixed upon him, he read sympathy with what he had said. His face grew brighter and brighter with an old man's mild smile which drew the corners of his lips and eyes into a cluster of wrinkles. He ceased speaking and bowed his head as if in perplexity.
But after all, who asked them here? Serves them right, the bloody bastards, he cried, suddenly lifting his head.
And flourishing his whip, he rode off at a gallop for the first time during the whole campaign, and left the broken ranks of the soldiers laughing joyfully and shouting, "Hurrah!" So weird.
Kutuzov's words were hardly understood by the troops.
Thank you.
No one could have repeated the field marshal's address, begun solemnly and then changing into an old man's simple-hearted talk. But the hearty sincerity of that speech, the feeling of majestic triumph combined with pity for the foe and consciousness of the justice of our cause, exactly expressed by that old man's good-natured expletives, was not merely understood, but lay in the soul of every soldier and found expression in their joyous and long-sustained shouts.
Afterwards, when one of the generals addressed Kutuzov, asking whether he wished his caleche to be sent for, Kutuzov, in answering unexpectedly, gave a sob, being evidently greatly moved. Why?
I'm sorry.
That was good.
No,
Oh,
I'm
boy.
sure by Russia being saved.
I like assuming that things are ugly cries.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew how to pretty cry back then.
Certainly not Lizzo.
No. Imagine he's the prettiest crier of them all. Just like, you, sir, are.
Has anyone ever made comments about
Am I crying?
your crying?
No. I don't think I give them.
Oh, because no one's ever seen it.
No. I just don't think I feel well enough about when I cry. I'm getting a lot better. I'm a lot better. But I don't think there could have been any comments about the crying before.
Oh, you're not permissible, you mean?
I just think it was too fragile for anyone to talk about it while it was happening. It was like, okay, it's all right. It's all right. This is happening. It's okay. Yeah. Has anyone made any comments about you? What? What did they say?
We're both narcissists. So you can guess. And it'll be beautiful. Isn't that the most narcissistic fucking thing you've ever heard?
I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah. Like that I was a pretty cry. Glad you're noticing that. Well, that's where it was like kind of a devastating thing to hear both times. I was like, what is wrong? What is wrong with you? And I think in both times it was in the moments. Like not later.
So there you are crying,
Yeah.
and they're like, "You're so pretty right now."
Yes. How fucked up is that? More than once. Like clearly I'm taking wrong turns in my life.
That's definitely something for some people.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Keep it inside your head. I mean, I guess I wouldn't rather if they kept it inside their head, but I just mean like I'm not saying that you can never think a thought other than people think all kinds of thoughts pop into your head. So like whatever, that's not of great significance. It's not like if someone's upset, you can be thinking no other thoughts.
Yeah, but what I see really disruptive, and obviously you have the right reaction, but for someone receiving that message, it's like you look great when you're suffering.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, this person likes it when likes to see me miserable.
I never took that from it.
Yeah, but I could see someone taking that from it.
Yes.
Like I'm, for whatever reason, really attractive or appealing when I'm hopeless.
Yeah. It's not a great message. Not great.
You're such a beautiful crier. That should be on your Bumble profile. Rumble profile.
Rumble.
I look really good when I cry.
That'll draw the 3 out. Moths to a flame. Imagine if the way to actually like draw them out would be like to go against every instinct.
Yeah, because if they're the 3,
they'll like see through my Brumble nonsense.
Right. Yeah. And it also means, so does this mean that you can just like treat everyone on there terribly? Or you can just throw all kinds of like ninja swords at them?
Because
if they're one of the 3, they'll dodge those little sharp edges.
Well, because it's not like it's a potential thing. it's not like you can't fuck this up. You could definitely fuck it up. It's not like if I stab them, they're not going to be like, well, I'm one of the three, so here I remain at your
You
feet.
don't think it's like the Matrix? Like they're the one. They're the
Oh,
three.
The one, the three. It's so funny that to you, 3 is so close to 1.
Do you think they like team up? I don't know. For something.
I mean,
This is turning very like Greek.
it depends. You know, it gets confusing. Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So like, maybe.
Yeah, like did he say anything about can you have all three at once too? Because maybe that's the answer.
He didn't say I couldn't.
Ah,
It's only you buy one, get 2 free. That's it. It's triplets. Imagine if it was triplets. What's the fucking likelihood of that? Oh my god, that would be. We'd get thrown for a fucking cosmic loop. Imagine being like, oh, I thought I had to find 3 separate ones.
It's quadruplets, and you have to figure out which
Which
one
one
is
is
not. Oh, so.
Would that be harder? Because wouldn't you be like, well,
You're like, chances are the odds are in my favor.
well, it depends on what's the goal of the. Because do I need to get all 3?
No, let's say you just pick one.
That's putting too many eggs in one basket. You can't just pick the one because then it could really 1 out of 4 be the wrong one.
Exactly.
But if you pick 2 or 3, then like doesn't matter if one of the eggs the rotten egg slipped in.
I mean, if The Bachelor took the same mindset, I was like, I really don't want to choose. So we're starting a harem.
I thought you said 3 at the same time. I was
Yeah,
still
I
stuck
did.
on
But
that.
now I'm like, oh, I like this idea of you having to give a rose to one of 4 brothers.
It looked the same. And knowing that 3 of them are like my cosmic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonder if I should watch The Bachelor.
Did you watch Blind Date yet?
No. Love is Blind.
Love is Blind, that's what it is.
No, but I feel like I should.
I can watch that. You need something mindless.
Definitely. I think you'd be really into it or into The Bachelor.
I'm sure I'm just being contrary. I'm sure if I was into it and no one else was, I'd be like, it's the greatest show ever.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
I think that contrarian thing kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Because it's like, who cares what
Very
everybody else is
adolescent.
doing?
Yeah.
And also, the more, like, I think I have strong streaks of that as well.
Mm.
It just becomes like,
Yeah. At what point are you just like cutting off your foot to spite your whatever the expression is? Like if the thing is good and you just needing to be different are depriving yourself of something great.
it's just like reactionary and stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that'll handle it. Can we please wrap it up? Because we only read fucking 2 chapters and I feel terrible about that. But I'm like,
Yeah.
because
You
of
wanna
all the
finish?
talk.
Because of the talk?
Yeah, they're talking so many calories.
Yeah. We
I
were
ate
talking
right
for
before
2
this and I'm
hours.
like so hungry.
And this is not light conversation. We're scouring the depths of consciousness here. What are we talking about? I don't know. We could end here.
Who knows what we
Let's
talk
take a gentle stroll through book 15.
Yeah, there's no need to overexert yourself.
No. It's a weekend.
Just take it one day at a time.
It's Memorial Day weekend.
Did you get the last weekend confused with this weekend, by the way? Because last weekend you were like, it's a 3-day weekend. But like,
I didn't get it confused.
it was just the Canada one.
It was a
last weekend.
Canadian long weekend.
I don't know why. So contrarian of Canada too, to not have it be the same weekend. Yeah.
Kind of hilarious though that it would just be like kind of close.
I'm sure that's intentional,
Oh,
but
but then why would
why
you
not
make
just
it
have the same? That kind of nonsense is happening all the time.
in Canada? Or
It's just
in
like it's so close, but it's not the holiday thing. There's so that's why I was like, oh, it was a 3-day weekend because often there's a similar 3-day weekend, but they call it different things, which I find
That's weird.
stupid.
Do you always pronounce the T in OFTEN?
Often,
Mhm.
often, I don't know why.
Curious. I'm wondering if people do both, or if they mostly just have one and don't do the other.
Often, I think I say tea.
I mean, you definitely did just,
Mhm.
but I can't remember clocking it ever before, so I don't remember if you always do.
Sure.
I've never said often.
Often.
Yeah, which makes me think that maybe people just pick one.
Just stick to it.
Isn't it so weird that there are a couple of words that it's like fully acceptable to do that with?
Yeah.
There's not a lot. Like that might be the only one. That's not associated, or maybe it is associated with dialect. Because there are ones that like you can say 2 different ways, but it connotes. What is that?
Person upstairs.
Sounds like a giant's jumping on the roof. Yeah, but often it's one of those things that like doesn't really mean anything. Which one? Regardless of which one you. Is this boring?
No, it's great. What are other words like this?
I can't think of any because I used up all my energy on consciousness. My whole dinner went to figuring out what it is to be unconscious.
What? What do you mean?
Like I ate
Mm-hmm.
right before this,
Oh,
and then I
all
spent
the calories.
my whole dinner
Yeah.
on trying to figure out what happens when you're unconscious.
Right.
Does anybody know what a coma is? We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. I'm gonna research this.
If
I'm gonna come back. Tomorrow. No, tomorrow I'm gonna come with knowledge.
You are?
Yeah, I'm gonna know what a coma is. I'm gonna
Alright.
know what unconscious is.
All right. I really want to see the mushroom documentary, or movie.
I can send you the link. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
It's weird. It's not like a high-end documentary.
I mean, I kind of figured they
It's
have a whole.
not a
lighting.
glossy Netflix thing.
Yeah.
Nope.
How is Netflix in every place at one time?
I don't know.
They're in every room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.